Don't cry out loud, keep it inside. Learn how to hide your feelings. Except not anymore because Mars is stationed direct. Thank frick. Hello Cancer, welcome back to your horoscope for the first new moon of 2023. Now before I go any further, I wish to caveat this reading with a minor apology for skipping out on your full moon celebration at the very beginning of the year. I do recognize that I needed a rest. I was feeling a little unwell and so I needed to recoup and regroup and recover. But I did have my thoughts with my Cancer friends and the opportunity to share in you the possibility of what it might feel like to have a full moon in your first house and a moment to extinguish any regret and to look out at that beautiful Cancer moon with hope and with love and with warmth and empathy. All of those wonderful things that you're so good at, Cancer. I did privately celebrate the moon with my mum, who is a Cancer rising. So, Jodie, if you're watching, you remember that night fondly. We had a great time and I got to really experience an upswell of emotion, cleansing, helpful emotion to salve some of this fire that Mars has been stoking up in Gemini. So for you, Cancer, that would have been your 12th house, which is the house of the magical limitlessness of our spirituality. The principle of Mars stationing direct, and so therefore now, from our perspective, moving forward, up and out of the sign, is something that I hope and feel will be like a release valve in terms of the pressure building up. For you, Cancer, there may have been some unconscious realities that were sort of bubbling to the surface. There may have been recollections of yours, of times gone by that were difficult, that were full of strife, that you found that you had to push down, and you've been wanting to express them, you've been wanting to talk about them, or you've been getting really angry about them, you've been getting angry about what has gone before. That's another way to look at the 12th house. It's what has gone before rather than what's happening right now. So as Mars moves away from Gemini and enters Cancer in March, we'll talk about that more as the year goes by, but there will be some of that energy brought into your first house, into your house of yourself and your soul, and hopefully some strategies can be discovered through that transit. Another good thing to recognize is that Mercury has also stationed direct. So Mercury is our messenger planet, the planet of intellect, of translation. And so in Capricorn, being your 7th house, the house of relationship, perhaps this bears an opportunity as we move forward to this Aquarius new moon to reach out to those that you care about and to share with them some of this new information, some of these translated messages, this content that you've gone over with a fine-tooth comb and you've recognized what the truth is in relationship, perhaps in ways that the relationships are suffering, perhaps in ways that relationships are really bountiful and helpful. That could be a lovely point of expression, is to share with those that you really care and love about, how much you do and how much they mean to you, how much they've helped you along your path. I'm going to get some intuitive cards on the table straight up, and then we can delve into the possibilities of Aquarius. It's a packs a punch, this house for you, Cancer. Aquarius, the sign, resides over your 8th house. Now the 8th has many different, the 8th has many different significations, many different definitions of what the eighth house entails. Grief is definitely one of them. Release is definitely one of them. Intensity is another. In a more pragmatic, practical side, the eighth house can be where we find ourselves bound to other souls, other individuals, what contracts exist between us and the other. These could be financial bonds. These could be agreements that have been made. In an emotional side, which is probably the language that makes more sense to you, Cancer, the emotional side of the eighth house has a lot to do with letting go, of experiencing ecstasy, experiencing such intensity when coming into contact with another soul and the ties that bind those souls in a contractual way together, and the importance of recognizing the time to let them free. So this is, as I said, it packs a punch, this eighth house. To have the sign of Aquarius there is of great encouragement, I would say, in terms of your brain and the way that you can intellectualize that concept. When I look at the tarot card for Aquarius, we see the star. The star has nothing to hide. The star is an extraterrestrial being sent here to planet Earth to show us the way. The star moves the water of life and love for thirsty humanity. They have the ability to change the tides, to shift what needs to be shifted in order to regain a sense of equilibrium and cohabitation. That's probably a really great way to consider Aquarian energy, is that of the humanitarian, the one that can zoom out enough and from that grander perspective take note of what is going on, what needs to change, and the tactics that are needed to instigate that change. Powerful stuff to be attached to your eighth house, I might say, Cancer. There's something of the caretaker in you, obviously. We know this. We know that Cancer is the great nurturer of the zodiac. We know that Cancer works from love. Cancer is the chariot, unafraid of emotional initiation. And so I see these two cards, I'm looking at them both, the chariot and the star, and I see that there's some sense of calling for you, Cancer, in the way that you can translate what it is that you know about loss and letting go and tying things up, finishing with reverence and respect, the ending of a cycle, and how you can take that information and share it with other folks. I suspect that we're going through a period in time when grief is difficult to ascertain for a lot of folks. I'm not sure if this is showing up in your experience, but I do know that in my own experience, I have a great difficulty when trying to conceptualize the end of something. And the grieving process for me is quite intense. And that's because I have been lucky enough, in my experience, not to have faced that head on so many times in my life. There's been definitely in different ways, I would say that I'm probably good at sort of starting again, absolutely. But this eighth house is something else. And so let's look at the timeline of this. So it's Sunday the 22nd of January, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me, that will be 6:53 a.m. So at sunrise, this will be a great moment for you to contemplate all of these principles. Contemplate your tenacity to nurture folks through grief. That might be a really simple way to put it, to nurture folks through the contractual bonds with others. There's so many beginnings and so many endings that I can see in the eighth house. There's also some beautiful, magical spiritual, pleasurable support right now in Aquarius too. So at 23 degrees, there's Venus, and at 24 degrees, there's Saturn. So it's almost like a massage. I can see here, Venus is massaging the restriction of Saturn, the outer limits, with a bit of pleasure and a bit of beauty. It's a really lovely place to have a first lunation, a first new moon that we get to work with, we get to cast our magic towards. And it is quite sincere. There's a great coupling in your 10th house at the moment, Cancer. Your 10th is ruled by Aries. Your 10th is where you're most publicly perceived, your legacy, how you wish to be remembered. Aries is very confident. Aries is very driven and forward moving. Aries has a lot to do with Mars. You can align those two energies together. Mars is the space holder for Aries. So that activation in the 12th in your magical realm is somehow informing what's going on in your 10th house, where your public recognition lays. Jupiter is in Aries at present, in an exact conjunction with Juno. Now, what I know of Juno is fresh. I'm mid-study, you might say. I'm reading the wonderful work of Demetra George, who is an incredible astrologer that spent a lot of her life focusing on the significations of the asteroids. And she's teaching me, reminding me that at this point in time, it's essential that we incorporate these lessons into our current understanding of astrological study. The feminine archetype, the feminine principle must play equally with the masculine. And this is not to gender the planets in any essence, but this idea of, the mythology attached to these energies and these principles there's a different side of the story. There's a continuation of the story, you might say, to be involved in. And so another word for Juno is Hera. Another word for Jupiter is Zeus. You can see that's a sticky relationship, but in conjunction, exact conjunction at 4 degrees in Aries, they're in harmony. And I see this as collaborative support. And if I was to break the asteroids down into tarot cards, I would be ginger with my estimation, but I'm going to go forward with it. I'm going to teach you more about this as the year goes by. But I believe that Juno could be signified as the Queen of Cups. That's a commitment to emotional investment. That's a commitment to relationship, a commitment to sharing. There's a great emphasis here in your 10th house, a great support from Jupiter, an expansive quality that's wrapped up in the Queen of Cups too. So how does that sit with you? Can you identify yourself in some way with the Queen of Cups? Can you identify your essence with the signification of someone who is ready and able to talk about feelings? This is nice energy that's in a harmonic relationship with the moon itself. So the 8th and the 10th are in relationship here. And I think that if you've been thinking about sharing what it is that you know, if you've been thinking about sharing what it is that you what am I trying to say? There's an enormously spiritual element to this lunation, Cancer, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I'm looking at these intuitive cards that I got, and I got the 6 of Cups, I got Judgment, and I got the Page of Pentacles, which is a really gorgeous way to cap this reading off, I might say. If we consider the 6 of Cups as some sort of beautiful nostalgia, some remembrance of times gone by, times when they were sweet, the simple act of being in company with someone that loves you and doing an activity. And judgment in the center of this card is not a condemnation. It's simply asking you, are you going to live a life half lived, or are you going to remember the silver life? Are you going to remember the magic of what it is that you do, the magic of your vocation, the magic of your everyday? And then the Page of Pentacles is someone with a seed of an idea, the seed of a possibility, somewhere that you can plant and grow together. This is a really nice reading, Cancer, and I'm very glad that it's gone this way. And I hope that that's enough. I'm going to remind you to go gently with this lunation. The 8th house brings up all manner of different possibilities for us to recall, and different ways of relating to people, and different ways of feeling the intensity of our emotional bodies. But you're in great support. The star won't let you down. The Aquarian in you, the Aquarian in all of us, will protect us. I'm going to be speaking to you in 2 weeks for the full moon in Leo, Cancer. So enjoy this one. Head to umaruby.com and get your birth chart booked in, because I'd love to read for you if I have not already. If I have, then do book yourself a year ahead reading. I've got so many ingresses, so many planetary changes to discuss with you. We're sitting at the precipice of a bold new way of existing on this earth. All of the outer planets are shifting sign in a matter of years. It doesn't happen very often in such quick succession. There's a staccato rhythm to these outer planets. Some take 20 years to move sign, some take 7. But for whatever reason, over these next 3 years, they're all clicking over into the new generation. The babies that will be birthed during this will have a new birth chart of their outer planets, will signify things different to the generation before. It's progress and it's lovely. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So if you'd like to learn more, book a year ahead. If I've read for you before, it's always important to get to know one another first and get to know the intimacy of the birth chart first. I love you, Cancer, and I'll speak to you in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's it. Bye.